Today I've got a fun little mixed media project for you. I want to show you how to make these jumbo paperclip bookmarks. They're basically collage clusters using some fabric scraps and different papers and stitching them together. And if you like, adding a little tassel of beads on them as well. I have a few on my desk to keep some papers together, some to-do lists organised, and yeah, generally making my admin a little bit more bearable. And I think they would make some really nice little gifts as well for people, especially for people who love reading. I do like to add a little affirmation to each of them, but obviously you don't have to. You can just use papers and fabrics and make your collage. So to start with, I have a jumbo paperclip, and I usually have the short open side on the top. And to start with, just open that gap a little bit to put the fabric through. I've selected some beads, some gemstones, spacer beads, check fire polished beads, some ribbon and some fabric scraps, and I'm going to colour coordinate them today. So I've gone for teals, turquoises and a splash of pink or purple, let's see. And I've got some vintage note paper here, sorry, sheet music rather, not note paper. And this is a sturdier paper that I use as backing. If you wish, you can also use some letter stamps on the fabric with an ink pad. And it might also be handy to have some of this fabric tack glue, although you don't have to use that. You can just use a regular glue stick as well, and some scissors. And for the bead tassels, I'm using Irish waxed linen cord, the 4-ply. But obviously you can use any other thread or wool, for example, as well. I'm using this piece as the feature piece here, and the writing is actually an iron-on transfer that I've created, so it's not stamped. I'm taking the jumbo paperclip, and it doesn't really matter how long you want to make a piece, but you do want some overlap to sew this in place and lock it onto the paperclip. And then you can just have a little play around with how you want to layer everything. And I always think it looks nicer when things aren't completely straight. So going a little bit off in different directions just adds a little bit of life, I think, and a bit more interest. And this is all about layering and creating texture as well. And so you just want to have things poke out a little bit on different sides. So, and I just bear in mind the width of the paper clip. And I do like all these torn edges. So that things don't get too fiddly while you're arranging everything. You can actually start by just fixing a few of the elements together before taking them to the sewing machine. I've had questions before about using glue in sewing machines. I've never had a problem with my machine gunking up, but I use the glue stick sparingly, and also just usually let it dry for a few moments. And if I can, avoid, you know, placing it where I'm intending to sew. And also, before you start sewing, just see how it hangs to make sure that it isn't sort of really, how do you say, skew with. Again, these little pieces, you can actually add them in various ways just to have a repeat of colour, and sometimes that actually ties everything together. You know, you could add it on the side as a little tag, for example. And I do like just layering lots of different materials, just for a bit more interest. Sometimes you have to play around a little bit to see, you know, what looks right. And you usually know when you see it. Okay, I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to use a zigzag stitch. And I also like to vary the width and the length between some of the sewing lines, again just to create, you know, or to avoid rather too much uniformity. So this is what it looks like. So I've actually gone over these little bits twice, and everything is locked in, so I can actually close this gap again. And I'm going to go for a little tassel now. I don't go right up to the edge, so that it has a little bit of space to move. And then I'm going to add some beads, and as you can see here, I added a knot under the first section and had a separate second section, and again that I think keeps a little movement in there, sort of visually. When I do the second half of this tassel, I make sure that I offset the height of the knots a little bit so that they're not totally parallel, if that makes sense. This is such a good way to use up all these little odds and ends as well. You know, pieces of ribbon, beads or charms, and give them a place to live. And this is the finished bookmark. I hope you enjoyed today and are feeling inspired to have a go as well. Honestly, they're a lot of fun and a good way to use up your scraps. Thank you so much for watching today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Happy creating. Bye bye.